When you deal with success, you may actually have a harder time than dealing with the failure. Actually, it sounds like Christianity and being close to the Lord is much easier, more assured when you are having times of challenge than when things seem to go well. That's why it's not surprising when Paul says in Philippians chapter 4, I have learned in all things to be contented, when I'm plenty and when it won't. Now, when I read it first, I wondered, surely, is there any need of learning when what you have is plenty, success? And it sounds like from Paul's experience, the times of plenty may be as difficult to handle as the times of failure and challenges. And we need to be aware about this, because you keep thinking, if only God you could bless me, if only God you could do things and this for me, I'll love you all the days of my life. How many of us remember during exams making a promise to God, if God you promise me to go from primary school to high school, I'll serve you. You got the marks you wanted, you went to the school of your choice. In January of the following year, by February, you have forgotten it. Something tells you, I made it. Look, I'm not like other people in my class. And within no time, you don't see where God comes in. And it's exactly the same when you get married and you are struggling. You very easily tend to cry to God. Then the family does well. You have separate cars. You are living in good places, and family altar becomes a challenge, and you start disagreeing with each other because none of you is really walking completely strictly with the Lord. You go to church, you are respected, the pastor wants to have time with you. Within no time, you don't think about God. All of that is as a result of success. My suggestion to you is that you must know in advance about the challenges of success, and in the process, that will help you to treat it carefully, to trend carefully when things are going well. Challenges is nobody would pray for challenges. No, nobody can pray for challenges. And we are not suggesting that therefore you should be poor, because I'm aware that many poor people do not serve the Lord because they have a quarrel. If he loved me, how come I'm like this? The devil knows how to use both success and failure. You get sick and you wonder, God, after serving you so much, how can you allow me to be sick? How come I'm not getting well? I have prayed for others, they have gotten well. I am not getting better. And in that struggle and bitterness against God, you soon lose your faith. So I'm not suggesting in any way that poverty and failure and challenge will be something you desire. No. When Jesus said it is more difficult for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to go to heaven, he didn't mean it's wrong to be rich. He meant don't be that kind of a rich person. And so we need to understand that we are not supporting the idea of living in challenge, living in sickness, No. God has promised us help, and we should cry for help in that way. The only thing that's the emphasis of this discussion is, please understand that the devil can use your success, your riches, your fame to bring you into trouble. You have heard of the 3 G's, God, and when God increases, somehow the devil is able to make you feel no need for God. The second G is a G for glory. When fame increases, people know your name. You everywhere you are passing the street, you can hardly walk because people are really no time. Power gets into you, and so when you talk about power and glory, you tend to be in trouble. Shakespeare said it, and I have not had reason to disagree with him. power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if your success is not just in gold, it is also in power and glory, it will also give you trouble. The third area people call success is you have the woman of your life or the women of your life. That year is a year of guys or girls. And I can tell you, Solomon became a womanizer and he ended up destroying his own kingdom. So it doesn't matter which kind of success we are talking about. All we are saying is that you need to be careful how you actually handle it. You know, in Deuteronomy chapter 8, we read, "Be careful to follow every command I'm giving you today, so that you may live and increase and may enter and possess the land the Lord promised on oath to your ancestors. Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands. He humbled you, causing you to hunger, and then feeding you with manna, which neither you nor your ancestors had known, to teach you that man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. Your clothes did not wear out, and your feet did not swell during these 40 years. Know then in your heart that as a man disciplines his son, so the Lord your God disciplines you." So how can you remain spiritually hot despite and in spite of your success? Moses, in teaching the Israelites, tells them several things. The key word here is be careful. Be careful. Be careful to follow every command God has given you today, so that you may live and increase and may enter and possess the land the Lord promised on oath to your ancestors. Be careful. And that it's very important that your life has times when you are able to sit back and think. That's why personal quiet time, number one. Number two, family altar. Number three, membership to a group Bible study are critical ways of being careful. You are being careful about things. It allows you to sit back, to think, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? When you are taken up by success until you forget to sit back and think about the things you are doing or not doing, there'll be trouble. So the first way the successful, the rich, are able to deal with success and remain spiritually hot is that idea of being careful, taking time to think what is happening to me. I'm told that's what William Wilberforce had. He had a group of people where, after all the fightings and becoming famous in Britain, he was almost one day called even the conscience of the UK. That success did not get into him. Why? He had a time to pray, but he also had time to meet with a group of people that spent all his many years in Parliament. He had that group of spiritual men who spent time with him, researched with him about the topics he was to present in Parliament, and gave him advice and prayed with him. I think it will be important for you to understand, be careful. And when you start becoming careless, understand that you are putting yourself in trouble. You may end up like Solomon, successful into failure. Second thing he says, remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years. So the first one is be careful. The second one is remember. What do you remember? How you have come where you are. You know, there's a vernacular saying that when a frog is helped to jump a trench, it finally starts thinking it's the one that jumped. And remember is a very important thing. I'm not suggesting you stay in history. I am not suggesting that you don't become forward-looking. But I'm saying it's important to spend time remembering what the role of God in your journey has been. Because if you don't, you'll soon start thinking that you are the one who helped yourself to where you are today. They are being told, Moses is telling them, when you are successful and in peaceful land and enjoying the new place, please remember the Lord your God and be humbled, how he humbled you, causing you to hunger and feeding you with manna which neither you nor your ancestors had known. In other words, can't you see the areas where, even if you want to give yourself credit, there's no credit? Remember that promotion? The only reason you got it is because somebody resigned. Surely, you need to understand clearly God created opportunity for that promotion. Start seeing the hand of God and acknowledging it to yourself, but also to your close significant others. Let them know that it's not because you are such gifted, which you are likely are, but see the hand of God in giving you this gifting, but number two, in creating opportunities. They are being told, remember the journey to where you are now, and remember what God has done with it. So the first one is be careful. The second one is remember. In this success of yours and riches, whether in one of the 3Gs, please remember what God has. Number 3, in talking about this, is still in Deuteronomy chapter 8. That the reason he gave them manna, it was to teach you that man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. This verse was actually quoted by Jesus to the devil. One of the things you remember is that the things you are getting are not enough for you to last. Man does not live on bread alone. Now you can change bread. You can take Weetabix, which you will not afford. You can change bread to this side and that side. You are doing well. But please remember, the things you call success are only a part of you. Don't you know you are 3 in 1? You have the mind, you have the body, and you have the spirit. And there are things that can meet the need of the mind, and there are things that can meet the needs of the body. Only God can meet the needs of your spirit. And therefore you'll be totally imbalanced when you don't read. So, and that's a very important thing to realize, that it's true you are succeeding, and that's very good. It should be encouraged. But don't you understand that's not everything? There is something still where you are totally dependent on God. To be at peace, to be in joy, irrespective of the things you are facing, does not just come from success. It comes from realization that God is with you. A rich man told me when I was a young man, 1977 or thereabout, told us, we were in a bank, and he had taken a loan from us, and he was said, it can be telling you that thing to be rich, it can be very difficult. It's like being at the top of a tree. Once you reach the top, the only direction is you either hang there or you come down. That tells you the only way you can have real peace is not by reaching the tree at the top, because you keep fearing you might fall. And then he told us something. If you're on the ground, there's no place to fall. Like, of course, these young project officers, which you are, we have no money, we have nothing. There's no way you can fall. But for him, when you're up there, and that is what the experience of most people who are doing well. If you become a president, you keep fearing you'll not be re-elected. If you are a business, it's a billion dollar thing, and then there's COVID-19 that comes, and things have changed, you fear it is going to collapse. But the poor person, once he has something to eat and drink and has a shelter, is happy. That's likely to be. So you need to understand clearly that God wanted you to know man does not live by bread alone means thank God for the bread. Thank God for the guy or girl. Thank God for the good. Thank God for the glory he has given you, the power and position he has given you. But they are not adequate. So if you in your success, remember you don't live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds from the mouth of the Lord. In other words, the moment you are not taking that food of God's word, you will be hungry. You end up doing things you can never have imagined you have done. And many people have done that. They were faithful to their wives, then they got rich, they now can go places, they can take holidays, within no time, he is having a concubine, he is having a dogo. But it could never have happened when they were going up the ladder. What has happened? He has forgotten that for him to say no is not because he is strong. It is God who helps him. And so it will be important for him to understand man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of the Lord. And that will be something that will be good. As you remember that your clothes do not wear out in the journey, how you are able to stay with one suit and somehow it lasted. Your feet did not swell, how you are able to walk and do very difficult work. You realize the hand of God was with you. In verse 6 we read, observe the commands of the Lord your God, walking in obedience to him and revering him, for the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with the brooks, streams, and these springs gushing out into the valleys and hills, a land with wheat and barley, vines and fig trees, pomegranate, olive oil, and honey, a land where bread will not be scarce and you will lack nothing, a land where the rocks are iron and you can dig copper out of the hills. This is real gold, the G4 gold. So, if you want to keep there, please understand that God will give you the power to make even more. In other words, you think you are rich, God will make you even richer. You think you are powerful, God will give you even more power. But it will come from the Lord. If you don't, even what he has given you, he could take away from you. So they are being told, please remember, obey God's command. Why? You still need him. How? Because he may help you to get much higher levels than the level you are, if you allow him to. So please remember, you have not reached the top. That will help you to kind of sober up. As long as you know you are great, but there are people that are greater. As long as you know you are rich, but there are even people that are richer. I think it will help you. As long as you can see God has intention to help you further on, it will start making you not feel that spirit of arrival. Nimefika. No, you haven't. There are things God expects you to do much higher. You are influencing 1 million people, maybe he wants you to influence 10 million. But stay in his hands, and he's going to direct you if you allow him. And I think that will be very, very important. The kind of things these people have been promised, both in the farm, in mining, in houses, God is saying, please look forward. There are things I'm yet to do to you. Have you reached a level where you feel you are such a success? That may be your undoing. You need to understand, as great as you are, there are greater places to go, and you still need God to help you to go there. Verse 10 says, when you have eaten and are satisfied, praise the Lord your God for the good land he is giving you. Be careful that you do not forget the Lord your God, failing to observe his commands, his laws, and his decrees that I am giving you this day. When you have eaten and are satisfied, praise the Lord your God for the good land he has given you. So how do you stay spiritually hot despite your success, in spite of your success? The secret is being given. After you are satisfied, thank God. That's why you need to spend time in prayer, not just of making requests to God, but prayer of thanksgiving. Somebody who taught us in the 1960s in our Christian Union to pray told us, that your prayer time should be always following the ACTS principle, ACTS. Please force yourself in structuring your prayer. Force your time to a time of adoration. What's adoration? Recognizing the greatness of God. Not asking for anything, but just acknowledging that you are man, he is God. Acknowledging he is immortal, you are mortal. Think about his greatness. That's adoration. As you do that, the greater you recognize God's greatness, the smaller you will feel. Number 2, in the acronym ACT, C is for confession. Please check your life, and you'll see, despite God blessing you so much, it's not because you are good. Look at your failures. Either you have failed in your mind, in your thinking, or failed in your talking, or failed in your heart. My friend, C is for confession. Acknowledge to God that given his holiness and the adoration, you have recognized how holy he is. You realize you don't approximate that holiness. So you spend time in your daily regular prayers. Spend time confessing. However successful you are, when you start looking at your failures and how you have failed God, it will bring you into humility. Then number 3, T is for thanksgiving. What's thanksgiving? Identifying the things God has done and telling him thank you for those things he has done. And I think it will be very, very important that you are able to identify them on a daily basis. What has God done? Of course, he has kept you alive. Of course, he may have given you health. Maybe mental health, either physical health, or even spiritual health. What are the things you can thank God for? Identify on a daily basis things you can say, this is God, this is God. And if you do it a daily activity of thanksgiving, it will remove you. Thankfulness helps you not to become proud, because you are thanking another. You are acknowledging, I am not a self-made man. God has had an input in what I am today. And as you do that, when you turn your attention not to self, but what God has done, it will help you to owe your allegiance to him, and therefore not become somebody who is going to be moving away from godliness. It's only then, after you have done the A, the C, and the T, that you can now go to the S. S is for supplication, making requests to God. And you now identify what you are doing currently, identify why you need God, and then talk to him about it. That kind of a prayer on a daily basis will keep you humble, will keep you acknowledging God, will keep you wanting to walk with him, and it will help you never to be proud because things are doing. When the verse 10 is saying, when you have eaten and satisfied, this level of the things you needed yesterday have been provided. Therefore, you could very easily stop prayer, stop going to church, stop attending fellowship. No, you won't. Not when you identify the place God has played in bringing you to where you are. So it will make you want to observe God's commands. Verse 12 says, otherwise, when you eat and are satisfied, when you build the fine houses and settle down, and when your herds and flocks grow large, and your silver and gold increase, and all you have is multiplied, then your heart will become proud, and you will forget the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. So God is clear. He understands our human nature. He created us, and he knows if you are not careful, like the first point we had, once things increase, you will soon forget him. Verse 15 says, he led you through the vast and dreadful wilderness, that thirsty and waterless land, and with his venomous snakes and scorpions, he brought you water out of a hard rock. He gave you manna to eat in the wilderness, something your ancestors had never known, to humble and test you, so that in the end, it might go well with you. You may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me. That's what he is predicting. If you are not careful, if you do not remember, if you don't become thankful, what will happen is that you will start seeing these things as the things you have done. And you start saying, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me. The moment you reach there, please understand, you are lost. You are rich and lost. You are famous and lost. I think it's important to understand that prediction. Do not think that just for the Israelites. It's many of us whom the Lord blesses. The Lord blesses you, then you turn to the blessing and forget the blesser. That's really what he's actually saying, something you need to. Verse 18 is a very important verse. But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms his covenant which he saw to your ancestors as it is today. I think that's a verse worth remembering. Remember the Lord your God, for it is he, that is God, who gives you the ability to produce wealth. In other words, when you see wealth, the ability to make that wealth has actually come from God. And I think that's one of the things that will help you. Remember, he has given you the ability to make wealth that you have made so far. But even the one you want to make in the future, you will still need him. He gives you the wealth. That's why you can have two people. Both are working very hard. One is going places, the one is a struggler. Why? He hasn't been given the ability to make wealth, but he's working hard. How many hard-working people do not make ends meet? I think it's important to understand when you see things increase, your wealth increase, the real truth is that God himself is the one who is giving you the ability to make wealth. Verse 19 says, if you ever forget the Lord, your God, and follow other gods, and worship and bow down to them, I testify against you today that you will surely be destroyed. God is saying, there's no beating about the bush. The moment he has helped you to become rich in gold, rich in girls, rich in guys, rich in glory and power, then you forget him. He is saying, don't beat about the bush. I will certainly destroy you. Like the nations the Lord destroyed before you, so you will be destroyed for not obeying the Lord your God. So I think that's a warning for us. Why should we continue managing our success so that we are honoring to God? Because God has given you not an empty threat, but something. And we have seen people become rich, down they come. Become famous, down they come. It's important to understand that many of the people are destroyed, who have been destroyed. Famous songwriters, famous singers, famous presidents, famous whatever. Some of them end their life in misery. Or because they started singing in church, went to the world to sing, became famous, became rich, entered into drugs, into women, and they ended up dying due to drug overdose or issues in life that destroy them. Their marriages are broken up. Then they land on women who do not care about them but care about their money. They end up in misery. That's what he is saying. Why should I be careful? Because there is still the possibility all this success may aid you in your later life to be a life of misery because you never trusted in God all the days of your life. And of course, like I've been saying, we have the example of Solomon, wise, great, rich in all the 3 G's, but he ended up in destruction and his kingdom was divided into 2. May we learn to handle our success. God will give us success. He has promised. May we handle it in such a way that we bring glory to Him.